right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining our monthly Lunch and Learn program. Today, I am pleased to welcome Carol Robertson-Lopez, Dr. Michael Mcquery, Mildred Vanderpooch, and Cindy Elliott from Sister Cities International. Carol, before we get started, will you introduce yourself and the other panelists?
Yes, thank you so much, Joy. My name is Carol Robertson-Lopez, and I serve as the chair of the board for Sister Cities. And when I was asked to organize this presentation, I asked 3 of my fellow board members to assist. First, that you'll be hearing from is Michael Mcquery. That's Dr. Michael Mcquery. Michael has had a lifetime career in education and his experience is opening opportunities for all youth. We're very proud of the work that Michael does in San Diego and is a member of our board. Next is Mildred Vanderpooch. Mildred is a Ghanaian American that lives in Columbia, South Carolina, and recently chaired our Youth Leadership Summit and is a new member of our board. Third is Cindy Elliott from Kansas. She's actually from from Hays, Kansas. I'm always wanted to call it Fort Hays because of the school, but it's Hays, Kansas. She's the Assistant Vice President for Global Partnerships at Fort Hays. She's a member of the SCI Board of Directors, is the Kansas Regional Rep, and has many, many roles in Sister Cities. Eisenhower is a household name in the Sister Cities organization. President Dwight D. Eisenhower had the vision and foresight to establish the organization on September 11th, 1956, during a White House conference on citizen diplomacy. This conference formed the capstone of the people-to-people movement. Prior to this, in 1931, the first twinning agreement was established between Toledo, Ohio, and Toledo, Spain. Today, so many years later, there are over 1,800 city partnerships representing over 140 countries worldwide. We have 24 members of our board representing all walks of life, from the Mayor Pro Tem of Los Angeles to international attorneys, to educators, to consultants working in sub-Saharan Africa, to corporate executives. I myself am the former Mayor Pro Tem of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and our immediate past chair is Ron Durenberg, the mayor of San Antonio, Texas, the 7th largest city in our country. We have a diverse board, and I'm very proud of this fact. I frequently ask myself, would President Eisenhower be pleased with his vision? I hope you can help answer this question after hearing from my colleagues and answering your questions. I prepared these remarks last Sunday after learning of the fall of Kabul, Afghanistan to the Taliban. Through my work in Sister Cities, I was awarded status as an honorary consul for the country of Uzbekistan, and I've been keeping close tabs on what has been happening in that corner of the world. I listened to President Eisenhower's words again, and I must admit it brought tears to my eyes. His appeal to a crowd of mostly men at that White House conference in 1956 still resonates equally today with men and women. He wanted to build a road to enduring peace based on the assumption that no people want war and all people want peace, yet knowing that certain portions of our world are taught that they have to have war. President Eisenhower indicated that people have to get together with an exchange of professors and students and convergence of discussions about disease. These are his words. How would he know what the world would be like 65 years later? I know you sit on this and are part of this prestigious organization for the Eisenhower Library Museum, realizing that you still echo his words with the work that you do. And we congratulate you for your work on keeping the legacy of President Eisenhower alive. Before I let my colleague share some of their stories. Let me share a video by the incoming chair of the Sister Cities International Board of Directors, Peter Schwartzbein, who is the Mayor Pro Tem of El Paso, Texas.
Ladies and gentlemen, I appear before such an audience with mixed emotion. Among it are so many of my friends that on the personal side, I feel like I was coming to sort of a family gathering with all of the enjoyments we normally feel on such occasions. I'm emboldened to talk because the purpose of this meeting is the most worthwhile purpose there is in the world today. Help build a road to an enduring peace. If we are going to take advantage of the assumption that all people want peace, then the problem is for people to get together, work out not one method, but thousands of methods by which people can gradually learn a little bit more of each other. Whenever the love of freedom, for example, grows greater in a population than is their fear of the gun at their backs, then dictatorships fall. And indeed, here are people that we will hope will lead us. Governments can do no more than point the way and cooperate and assist the mechanical details. But I am talking about the exchange of professors and students and executives, the providing of technical assistance and the ordinary traveler abroad, about doctors helping in the conquering of disease. So in calling upon a group like this, I wanted to come before you, in spite of the diffidence of which I spoke, to tell you that in the opinion of this administration, there is no more important work than that in which we are asking you to participate. Because there is no problem before the American people, indeed before the world, that so colors everything else we do, so colors our thinking, our actions, as does the problem of preserving the peace.
So I hope after seeing that video, you understand why we are all so passionate about President Eisenhower's vision and grateful that his vision for improving understanding through people-to-people exchange is the way to everlasting peace. Now let me turn it over to my colleague from San Diego, Dr. Michael Mcquery. Michael? Michael, you're on mute.
Cool. Thank you. So President Eisenhower knew that international understanding and world peace could not happen through military intervention and international diplomacy alone. Because it required building international relationships between those who live in the communities they serve, he launched the idea of sister cities with the expectation that people-to-people relationship building and citizen diplomacy could best flourish through city-to-city partnerships. 65 years later, we have learned that we can strengthen people-to-people relationships by developing civic learning, cultural proficiencies, and global competencies in our youth. How can we do that? Well, San Diego, along with a number of other sister cities, have involved their students and schools in a process of imagining an effective way forward. What appears promising are youth programs that expand the people-to-people and city-to-city concept to incorporate student-to-student and school-to-school relationships. So let's watch the video to get a sense of how this is playing out in the real world.
Imagine if students could connect to the global community through a shared love of music. Yokohama is Japan's first modern international trading port and San Diego's first sister city. It is home to Japan's largest Chinatown, Pikachu outbreaks, and jazz. Since the Roaring '20s, jazz culture and appreciation has thrived here. In San Diego, the students of Mission Bay High School share our sister city's love of jazz, and they have one of the nation's premier traditional youth jazz bands, the Mission Bay Preservationists. Under the direction of award-winning educator and performer Jean-Paul Balmat, this music program has been inspiring students for the last 50 years, and the Preservationists have led the charge, being featured at venues throughout the United States, with memorable performances at the New Orleans Jazz National Historic Park and the iconic Preservation Hall.
We love Yokohama! Whoa!
In April of 2017, the Preservationists traveled and represented San Diego and its sister city, Yokohama, to commemorate the 60th anniversary of sister city relations. This unique tribute offered an incredible experience that cultivated the cultural depth and professional horizons for the students as they prepared for the next chapter in their adult lives. To help fundraise for a return trip in 2019, Mission Bay Music and the San Diego-Yokohama Sister City Society created a unique, student-driven, bi-weekly concert series set against the serene backdrop of the Japanese Friendship Garden, with spectacular performances by established and emerging artists from a wide variety of jazz genres. This series provided a one-of-a-kind work-study experience, giving students of Mission Bay Music an opportunity to play a role in every aspect of event promotions and production. The greatest successes in the San Diego-Yokohama Sister City Society have been youth-driven. With the guidance of Dr. Thelma Press, we have piloted initiatives like the concert series, but also cultural exchanges and collaborative projects for San Diego and Yokohama students to work together. They build relationships and also career skills that keep them involved and keep our sister city connection strong.
All right, thank you. Can we go to the title page? So in addition to the powerful social, emotional, and deep cultural integrative impact that in-person student exchanges have on our students, you saw the transformation from in-person experiences to virtual exchanges. The coronavirus pandemic forced us to deal with this global challenge in a way that required rapid inclusion of technology and digital solutions in our classrooms. We were forced to learn how to communicate and build relationships virtually, which resulted in international student exchanges becoming more equitable and more accessible to areas that have less resources. In addition, the international school-to-school partnerships could be more economical as well as more accessible to younger age students. Slide 2, please. San Diego has 16 sister cities in 15 countries, at least one on every continent except Antarctica. And where we have sister city partnerships, we strive to expand community connections to include international student and school engagement. We are imagining how we can better promote world understanding and peace through the empowerment of our youth and the expansion of their capacity for global acuity. By global acuity, I mean the clarity by which students see themselves and their place in this global ecosystem. In this presentation, I will briefly cover 4 San Diego programs that have student international exchanges and sister school components, and I will highlight a few essential elements that have led to their success. Links to these programs will be on the final slide. Slide 3, please, Yokohama. As you saw in the video, Yokohama School Program builds on well-established connections between San Diego and Yokohama that evolved over many years and is currently linking the students at several elementary, middle, and high schools in a number of projects that you can see listed on the slide. During the pandemic, this well-established sister city and school connection enabled several important conference calls when doctors, educators, and public health specialists in 4 countries, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and New Zealand, exchanged concerns, problems, and evolving mitigations related to opening schools during the pandemic. The essential elements of this program include the existence of long-term and outstanding sister city leadership and sister city support by well-connected and engaged community members in both countries. Slide 4, Panama City. The Panama City program is a student-driven program that engages students at Canyon Crest Academy with students in Panama City, Panama, in the development of a graphic novel about the adventures of a high school student who is transformed into a hummingbird and flies a migratory path between San Diego and Panama in a quest to find Mother Nature and understand the impact of climate change. This multi-year project has annually been showcased at the San Diego Comic-Con International Convention, where the students from San Diego and Panama City present their graphic novel, adding a new chapter each year. The next chapter will include students in schools in Canada and Alaska that are also on the hummingbird's migratory path. Essential elements of this program include the recognition of the motivational force of student-driven programs, the engaging power of creativity and artistic expression, and the presence of excellent adult guidance and supervision that recognizes the added value of student agency and empowerment. In addition, there is the importance of paying attention to program continuity and sustainability. Slide 5. The San Diego-Tijuana Binational All-Star Youth Soccer Tournament engages the best boys and girls from soccer teams in Tijuana and the best soccer players from 6 different high school districts in San Diego County in a 2-day cross-border tournament. The tournament was supported and attended by Landon Donovan, America's best world-class soccer player, who happens to live in San Diego and owns a soccer club, the San Diego Loyal. An essential element here is the recognition that sports are a common denominator and a major motivator that will engage students if the program is well organized, enrolls multiple civic and business partners, and can involve sport icons and local heroes. Slide 6, Jalalabad. The Jalalabad School Connection builds on a Rotary and Sister City partnership that began with Afghan refugee children in Pakistan who returned to war-torn Jalalabad to find no teachers, lessons, or schools. The San Diego Jalalabad Sister School program was created in 2004 to address this urgent need, resulting in the construction of schools, teacher training, development of curriculum, high-quality instruction for both boys and girls, and partnerships with institutions of higher education. Currently, events in Afghanistan are troubling, and the Jalalabad schools are closed. However, the Taliban recently visited the schools. They expressed an acceptance of the program and stated that the schools, staff, and students, boys and girls, can safely return and continue with their education. We also learned that some of the children of the Taliban were students in the schools, and some of the Taliban themselves were also students. So we are cautiously optimistic. The essential element here would be the importance of a community-based program that is structured around the clearly identified needs and expectations of the local communities involved. Next slide. So, thank you. There is so much more to learn and to share about this expanding frontier of initiating and strengthening student-to-student and school-to-school relationships. I look forward to continuing to imagine the future of increasing international youth empowerment, strengthening civic and worldwide competencies, and enhancing global acuity as we work together to build better international understanding and world peace. Thank you, and back to you, Carol.
Thank you so much, Michael. I hope from hearing about the programs in San Diego, you get a robust idea of how Sister Cities has impacted not only the community of San Diego, but 16 communities around the world. And the kind of program that Michael is describing exists in many cities, not only big cities like San Diego, but very small cities that are so proud of their Sister City connections. Now it's my distinct pleasure to turn it over to my colleague, Mildred Vanderpooch from Columbia, South Carolina, who just recently finished being the chair of our Youth Leadership Summit. Mildred, tell everyone about your programs.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much. First and foremost, I just want to say it is such an honor to be here with you today, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you today. I want to thank my colleague and my chairwoman, Carol Robertson-Lopez, for inviting me. It's such an honor. I am so humbled to share with you today. Thank you so much. As Carol said, my name is Mildred Vanderpooch, and I am from Columbia, South Carolina. Originally a Ghanaian citizen, born but raised here in Columbia. I recently was able to be the chair of our Youth Leadership Summit planning committee. So I am excited to actually share with you today that honestly very robust and very exciting Youth Leadership Summit. Just a side note, Dr. Michael Mcquery was on our planning committee as well, and one thing that we learned out of this was that our future is bright. So all the questions that we all have, all the anxiety that we may have about our future, seeing these 35 students really made us, as we said, sleep at night, sleep better, because knowing that they are our future and they are our leaders gets us excited. So as I stated, I'm excited to share with you what our summit consists of. As I stated, we had 35 students, and these 35 students, not one continent was not represented. Every continent was represented, whether it was the US, Africa, Asia, every continent was represented. And these students really were very excited to get involved. We took these 35 students, and a part of their application process was to actually tell us in written form why they wanted to be leaders, who their mentors were, and what they would do to change the world. So they came in already prepared. They came in already excited and ready to get to work. So once they were chosen, these 35 students, not only did we split them up into 3 groups of 10, but they also were able to be a part of a 2-week workshop. So in those 2 weeks, we were able to really get together, conjugate together, and really do a robust, intensive learning skill of every SDG. Our theme this year was solving today's problems for a better tomorrow. And that's what we conveyed to each student, that we expect them to solve today's issues for a better tomorrow. And that's how they thought in this 2-week span. We had speakers in each day that really went through every single one of the SDGs, which is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And out of those SDGs, we picked 3 ones that we really wanted them to focus on. We had the first SDG was by group 3 that we really did, and they did good health and well-being, SDG 10, SDG 16. Then we also had SDG 10 and 16, which is reduce inequalities, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Then we also finally had SDG 12 and SDG 7, which was responsible consumption and productivity and affordable clean energy. So every single day of those workshops, we had young professionals that were already in the field that will be a great example for each of these students to look up to. We had people from our Justice Department. We had a woman from her country of Kenya who was actually, and this young lady, ladies and gentlemen, is only like 17, 20 years old. And she actually, if you could go back to the other slide, she actually is a woman who's combating water, the shortage of water all over Africa. And she's doing it by herself. And she's a young woman. That is what I'm talking about when I say our leaders, our young leaders for tomorrow are on it. They are passionate and they are doing it themselves. They're not waiting around like we did. They are taking the issues and they're making a difference themselves. So we had examples like that every single day of the week. Then if you could go to the last slide, I just want to one of our youth, actually the person who was actually in constant contact with our youth, who really gave them day by day instructions, who was like their mama bear, is actually one of our Sister Cities International staff, who is our youth staff. Her name is Bishwa. She came to us from Turkey, and she's a young professional herself. So it was literally the young leading the young, and because of that, they respected her. Because of that, they loved her, and because of that, she whipped them into shape, and they came to us already ready to go. And then if you could go to my final slide, we had our dynamic, here it is, our dynamic leadership committee, planning leadership committee. Like I said, Dr. Mcquery was on there. We had our president and CEO, Mr. Leroy, on the team. We had our next gen chair, Mr. Kevin O'Donnell, who was right from SCI. And then we had other representatives such as Miss Sarah from Texas, who also represented as well. Then each group had a mentor from every state as well that also helped them as a group in any way they needed to be able to work outside of the workshops. So that's a picture of all of us that I just wanted to share with you as well. Then on August 12th, we had an exciting public forum day. Why was it exciting? Because we had a dynamic lineup. And one of the lines, you might see her name, Cindy Martin. She was our first speaker on our public forum. For you who do not know Miss Cindy Martin, she is the U.S. Deputy of the of Education Department. So we were so happy to have her on. And then we also had just young professionals, like this young professional Desmond from Ghana, who actually is a clean energy. And then a young professional from Tiffany, who's right here from my hometown, Columbia, South Carolina, who is an activist as well. And then we just had just a great dynamic star lineup. But the highlight of our public forum were our students, because each group of those students actually gave a presentation on their SDGs. So we had discussion on police reform. We had discussion on clean energy and why it's so important to be sustainable. We had the discussion on actually one of the presentations on why it is important to take sexual assault so serious. So we had these students, not only did they give the presentations, but they gave the presentations on the solutions as well. And their dynamic solutions were just so applauding. So I end this note to say, one thing, I've only been in SCI for about 2.5 years now. And as a young woman myself, in the, as a younger woman, and my goal is to have every youth be encouraged, empowered to make a better tomorrow. And that's what SCI really prides themselves on. So I am honestly honored to represent the Youth Leadership Summit and represent Sister Cities International, because they are truly keeping President Eisenhower's word to connect and make a better tomorrow. Thank you so much for allowing me to present today.
Thank you so much, Mildred. The Youth Summit was a pinnacle of success for us this year, because it is through our youth that we are going to make a better tomorrow. So thank you so much. Our last speaker, but certainly not our least speaker, because she shares the most with President Eisenhower in that she's a proud Kansas person. What do you call yours? Is there a name? Take yourself off mute, Cindy. What do you call people from Kansas?
Oh, we're Kansans.
Kansans. Okay.
Kansas.
So it seems only appropriate that we wrap up our program today by asking our colleague, Cindy Elliott, who works in international education, is actually day by day building on bringing people together for mutual respect and cooperation, because that's what education is all about, mutual respect and cooperation. So with that, Cindy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carol. It really is an honor for me to be part of this panel today, because I have thoroughly enjoyed my visits to the Eisenhower Museum and Library, and I look forward to bringing a group of our international students to the museum again this semester. So hello to fellow Kansans. I'm only about 2.5 hours away from Abilene, and Samantha and Joy didn't know how many people from Abilene we'd have on today, but I was hoping to maybe meet Mary Zai from the Abilene Sister Cities, and others are on the local Sister Cities board of your community. As Carol introduced me, I'm the Assistant Vice President for Global Partnerships at Fort Hays State University, where we have a large program to offer dual bachelor's degrees in mainland China. We send faculty to China to live and teach Chinese students, except during the pandemic, which required us to pivot to being fully online. Faculty are now gradually returning to China, going through the quarantine so that they can be able to teach face-to-face. Yet we will begin our classes next week, mostly online, to our Chinese students. I personally got to know the vision of President Eisenhower and Sister Cities International through my work with China. Our partner university in China today has 33,000 students, of which Fort Hays State University is serving 4,000 of those students in teaching courses that are taught entirely in English. And the university is located in a small city by Chinese standards, a population of 900,000. So the university was founded by a Chinese American, and it's located in the Henan province, which is the sister province to the state of Kansas. The city requested that they investigate a sister city's relationship with another small city in America, and that being Hays, America. As most of you know, we like to put the name together, Hays, America. So the mayors of both cities have visited each other multiple times. We've had many student exchanges, art and culture exchanges, and in fact, a Chinese parade dragon performs in the homecoming parade in Hays. At Fort Hays State University, we have graduated 15,000 Chinese students since we started that partnership. They are all gainfully employed, or they're seeking graduate education in the US, China, Australia, UK, or other foreign countries. And these Chinese students do travel to America, and as well as our faculty exchange with the and the business community of Xinjiang, our sister cities. I recently talked to Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, and she mentioned, and I mentioned to her that I believe our higher education work is the largest export in Kansas. And I mentioned the value of sister cities, and she thoroughly agreed that the deep appreciation for the culture of our countries and the love for people is a win-win, despite all of the geopolitical issues as we're swirling around. The city of Hayes also has a sister cities with Santa Maria, Paraguay. And this is where we are also receiving several students every semester from what is also the sister state to the state of Kansas. That's Kansas and Paraguay. The students receive a special in-state tuition. So if you're not aware, the sister cities for Abilene is Omitama, Japan, and they also have those special relationships as well. I think I feel fortunate to be a part of the sister cities and the privilege of working with individuals like Michael and Mildred, and especially Carol, with all their passions and visions that I believe President Eisenhower espoused. I think the discussion that we've had today exemplifies the importance of volunteerism and the dedication to the citizen diplomacy. Understanding world peace definitely takes people to people and city to city relationships like Michael shared. The civic learning and the global competencies that San Diego has really been successful in achieving is just one example of all the mission and the goals that sister cities espouse to. I love the jazz diplomacy that has been so successful in San Diego, and we must learn more about the spirit skies, hummingbirds for climate change. But who would have ever thought that the enthusiasm of Mildred coming in with our Youth Leadership Summit would have an impact on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And as those youth looked at the problems of our world and coming up with their own solutions that really might have an impact on what we do. This last slide provides contact information for sister cities. And we especially ask you to add your name to the mailing list and consider participating in our virtual events as well as our face-to-face events that are being organized for members and for non-members. The roundtables that are organized by our global awareness team provide useful information about the various countries and will allow you to connect with others from those countries. And the roundtables are held monthly, similar to your lunch and learn sessions. They're only an hour Zoom event, so you may want to try to participate. I really believe that it takes the willingness, fortitude, ingenuity, and of course, hearts of love and respect to do much of the work that President Eisenhower challenged us to do. I mean, I agree with you, Carol. I love to hear his words over and over again. He said he wanted our help in building a road to enduring peace. He wanted us to point the way to exchange professors, doctors, business people. And I'm thinking, like 65 years later, have we achieved his vision? He said there was no more important work than he asked us to all participate for preserving peace. So I want to ask our audience here today, if you think President Dwight Eisenhower would be proud of how Sister Cities is carrying out his vision. And I ask you if you might continue to help cooperate with us in doing his work together. I raise that question to the audience, and then if not, I'd like to turn to Michael Mcquery and ask Michael to give us a personal discussion of what the San Diego and Jalalabad have been doing in the last weeks, because I know you have been engaged.
Well, thank you. Looks like there's two questions there. One is very hopeful. I believe President Eisenhower would be very pleased with the changes that are taking place and the actions that we have taken to fulfill his vision of a more peaceful world through developing people-to-people and citizen diplomacy. We have a lot of work to do, and we're going to continue that work, but we are greatly facilitated by the programs that Mildred has suggested and the ones that we have in San Diego that are engaging our students in this building a more peaceful road. And we think that we can build a broader road and a more sustainable road with the help of our youth. And so we definitely encourage you to support our sister cities and our sister school programs, and definitely link to our websites so we can help answer any of your questions if we don't get to them all today. The second question has to do with what is happening in Afghanistan. We have been encouraged by developments up until today. I don't know if you heard the reports, but there was a bomb attack at the airport. We lost some U.S. military, and I've been able to read hear the news, but I just logged on to see how many people we have been able to successfully evacuate from Kabul. And when I saw that, I saw the article. The Taliban said that they're not responsible. We think that it's an ISIS. So we do have elements within that country that are going to take advantage of the situation. We hope that everyone is safe. Our hearts and our thoughts are with the families and the military who were lost, and we want to continue, and we want to support our military who are there, and we know that they're doing everything they can to support Americans who are trying to get out, and the Afghan people who would also like to exit. In addition, we hope that the Taliban will recognize the quality of the programs that we have, the support that we were providing, and the importance of educating youth, both boys and girls. We hope that they stand and protect the schools that we have established, not only in Kabul, but we have 3 other sister cities in Afghanistan. So the situation is constantly changing. We need to pay attention, and we need to provide our support. And it leads to the importance of sister cities, people-to-people engagement, that we can solve problems maybe more effectively with the city-to-city and local level. So maybe others have something to add to that. I am hopeful, but I'm cautiously hopeful.
So Joy, it's over to you now.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our panelists. You kind of already hit on it, so we won't go back over that. But I like sister cities being involved with current events. I think I'm learning more about sister cities. 2 weeks ago, we had Meryl Atwater here to talk about people to people, which is President Eisenhower's other program. And so I'm kind of hearing about how they work together, or really what they do to achieve, what each one of them does to achieve this vision of President Eisenhower's is really excellent. So what I'll do right now is I've put it in the chat, but if there are people on the Google Meet who have questions, you are free to unmute yourself and ask your question or type it in the chat.
Joy, if I could, the one thing I would like to share about current events we haven't talked about, that I was reminded today that President Eisenhower saw our doctors coming together to fight disease. And how prophetic, because here we are in a world pandemic, and if we haven't, I just get so upset sometimes that we haven't learned the lesson that it is a pandemic that's going to require all peoples of all countries to come together to beat this pandemic, because indeed it is a war. The number of people dying all over the world from COVID, and if we listen to scientists, and I just finished reading the influenza in 1918 and understanding how viruses mutate and dangers before us, we will only solve this by an international response. And it's not just having the United States vaccinated, it's the entire world, because until we come together as a world to solve it, COVID will just keep moving around and mutating. But I'm encouraged by this. I'm sorry I'm talking so long, but I feel so passionately about this, is that when our scientists, our worldwide scientists come together, it's amazing the discoveries that are being made as we speak right now in terms of understanding viruses. And there is the potential in our future that there will be one vaccine for all viruses. Instead of teaching, a vaccination actually teaches our body how to respond to a virus when it enters and what to do. But there could be a vaccine that doesn't allow any viruses in. And there's no good virus, folks. Viruses are not alive, but they get in our cells and they replicate. And if our bodies fight them, then they just start changing and mutating. And that's what Delta is about. But sister cities during COVID exchanged masks. We sent masks from our country to places all over the world. Our sister city in China sent us masks for our school kids. There's been so many examples of cities sharing not only masks, but technology, all kinds of things in combating this. And so I'm very proud of what we've done there. And it's so prophetic that President Eisenhower saw the need for us to come together to solve the world health issues. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So I don't see any questions in the chat. No one has unmuted themselves just yet. Oh, we do have a question. How does a city become a sister city? Are there certain things that cities need to do as a part of the organization?
Well, I think Cindy should answer that. One of the things that Cindy does is Cindy has also a position called state representative. And what Cindy does is she works with all the different cities in Kansas that might want a sister city. So Cindy, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I'd be glad to. I'm not sure, Dawn, where you're located. But as Carol said, there is a process for actually culminating in the signing of a sister cities agreement and relationship. It first starts by building that friendship. So sometimes the two cities start as friendship cities, and they learn more about each other. They learn more about their economy, more about their communities, and more about what they want to achieve and accomplish through a sister cities relationship. And then eventually they will a sister cities official signing occurs between the mayors of the two cities. And so on our website, as they're pulling up right now, there is information about how the two cities can actually become twinned together. Often, some of the cities just decide they want to just continue as friendship cities. They don't want to have the formal relationship. But we encourage the formal relationship because that's when the student exchanges, the business exchanges, there's some just wonderful stories. If you were watching the Olympics, you may have seen the video that NBC produced about the two sister cities in Crescent City, California, and the sister city in Japan. And when the tsunami hit, a boat floated all the way across the oceans and landed on the shores in Crescent City. The youth found that boat, they repaired it, and sure enough, they took it back to Japan. That's just one example. There's a tea house in Boulder, Colorado, in which Dushanbe wanted to provide a tea house to Boulder, Colorado. They took apart the tea house plank by plank, artifact by artifact. They put it in shipping containers and shipped it to their sister cities in Boulder, and it has been rebuilt. And if you're ever in Boulder, which is not that far from where we are in Kansas, I do encourage you to stop. You can have high tea, or you can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And that's just another example of how we're learning about each other. So it doesn't always have to have some of the youth and the education components that we've talked about. There's just many reasons why two communities might want to come together.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Next question, how's the organization funded and what are the funds used for?
Well, I'll field that question. Sister Cities receives a grant every year from the Department of State. The Department of State promotes our efforts in citizen diplomacy and supports our programs. Another source is we're always fundraising. We're always reaching out to corporations, and our biggest donors are individual donors that believe in the Sister Cities mission and are very generous in donating to us. This past year, it's been a challenge, but COVID has actually, had a silver lining, if you will. In that time, we used the COVID experience to go from where we were paying $15,000 a month to now a much more reasonable $5,000 a month rent in our offices. So we've reduced a lot of expenses this past year. And some of these expenses we'll never bring back because COVID did force us to tighten our belt. COVID forced us to provide programming opportunities virtually. And we have done a good job with our virtual connections. It's really been remarkable, not something we ever thought we'd be learning how to do, but we've become very masterful at connecting. Now, what we use that money for is we have an executive director, a small office staff that provides membership services. If your city is a member of Sister Cities, we provide you technical assistance. We provide what we call our toolkits, which help support the activities of Sister Cities. And we use our money for the Youth Leadership Summit. A big expense for us is past years. Part of our success, I have to say, is we hired some very professional teams to help us with our virtual programmings. In fact, the group that we hired were people that worked in New York City for the Metropolitan Opera and also for Carnegie Hall. They were doing productions. They had no work to do, and they went to the virtual environment for our annual conference. It's a chunk of change that we paid for this service, but it was so valuable because instead of having 400 people at our conference, we had 15,000. So we have invested in the best technology and support for those programs.
And Carol, I'll mention, our CORP grant comes from the U.S. State Department, but the U.S. State Department has split the world into regions. And you've alluded to this and I alluded to it, but I want to accent that, is that we have also divided up our Sister Cities network into consistent regions. And those regions attempt to hold monthly virtual roundtables for connecting the sister cities within the United States that all have relationships. I just got off one for Korea just before this lunch and learn session. And so all of the sister cities that have Korean relationships came together. Next month, we will connect with the cities in in Korea. So they're sharing best practices as well as challenges. And I know Michael Mcquery, you've been doing that a lot with the sister cities in San Diego as well.
Right. If there aren't any other questions, I could expand a little bit on how San Diego has utilized this international regional structure, as well as our state roundtables and country roundtables to provide services. So we've, for example, we're connecting with the Maasai tribe in Kenya and Tanzania out of an interest that came to our sister city. So going back to the original question, if you're interested in how to join, do connect. Go to the website, go to a city that's close to you, or find it that if you are, and you can connect with them and become involved. So a request out of Maasai was to connect the 15 chiefs in Maasai with San Diego, and out of that event, we've connected other partners like Peace for Kids to ship. We're planning to ship 21,000 shoes in a container to Maasai, and they're going to. Some of the students and family members will wear those shoes, and the women will also take the rest of them, take them to market and sell them. And we believe they'll raise enough money to build a 3-classroom school for the students in the Kenya area. In addition, we've been focusing on healthcare. So I mentioned the 4-country connection that we had during the pandemic to talk with the healthcare workers and education experts about how to open our schools during the COVID. So we were able to connect through our regional directors and our country reps to make these events happen. So it's the wealth of resources that we have available, and the connected organizations that we're able to put together. Most recent one, the last one I'll share, is we're shipping three school buses to Haiti. It was to help the schools, but it turns out it'll be there in time to help with other earthquake rescue efforts. So Sister Cities comes together when there is a request. We have the organization to support it. We have the support services and resources to make things happen. If you have an interest or a need, get in touch and we'll see what we can do.
I was just going to add one caveat to what continuing to speak on what Dr. Mcquery would say. Something that we also, I'm really proud of with the sister cities that we've done in the last year is really in the Africa region. So one thing that we really realized during the pandemic is that our students are lacking connectivity, both in the U.S. and in other parts of the world. So we have the West Africa Computer Initiative that we are starting under the Africa region, and we have 2 phases. One phase is that each sister city is going to actually find a school within their city in the continent of Africa or the region of Africa, and then provide those schools with computers. The next phase is they're going to find a school within their U.S. sister city, and that such a great example as San Diego has done is actually they're going to do a sister to sister school computer connection. So finding a school in the sister city of their U.S. and then actually helping them if they need help with connectivity as well, and then start that school to school connection. So we're really excited. I mean, like Carol said, that out of the pandemic, it has been a silver lining, not only through our virtual experience, but also being able to reach more people outside of them we could have, because now they can be able to connect with us and we can see where we need to be more needed as well. So I just wanted to add that.
All right. So we do have one other question, and that is, can you speak a little bit about the relationship and history of People to Sister Cities International?
Yes. Merrill Atwater has spoken at our conferences. He's been our invited guest We consider ourselves to all be part of the same family. So we collaborate whenever we can. The biggest difference between the two groups is people to people is just that. It's based on individuals in the community connecting with other individuals, involves a lot of homestays, such a beautiful program. Our program is more based on connecting local governments as the vehicle, using the city structure to connect with another city structure. So some of our goals and areas that we work in are mayor to mayor, government to government in terms of conquering different projects. But we consider ourselves to be part of the same family and respect people to people very much. In fact, someday I hope to be able to go on a people to people exchange. Merle's invited me. I just haven't made it happen yet.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I did not ask the people on the phone. I don't know if we still have people on the phone, but if we do, now would be the time for you to unmute and ask your question. You do that by pressing *6 on your phone. All right. So if we don't have any more questions, and it doesn't seem like we do, I'll just make a few more comments and announcements and we'll wrap it up. So once again, thank you to our speakers for today. The 2021 Public Program Series is made possible thanks to the Eisenhower Foundation and the Jeff Coat Foundation. Our September book club is scheduled for Tuesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. Our featured book will be Divided Highways, Building the Interstate Highways, Transforming American Life by Tom Lewis. You can keep up to date on all of our upcoming events by visiting our website at eisenhowerlibrary.gov. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and have a great day.